Hey everybody, welcome in. Second one today. There was some confusion this morning because people were like, how come you're not talking about Ethereum? Well, that's because it was a Bitcoin video. Okay, so I hope that's perfectly clear. I've got like 1,000 comments. Oh, you're biased. No, it's a Bitcoin video. Okay, we talk about Bitcoin in the Bitcoin video. This one, I will cover Ethereum in great detail and why I believe it is a game-changing moment for the whole space and go over everything that you need to know. Crypto market cap 2.6 trillion. It was 2.1 trillion a few days ago. Volume $165 billion. I haven't seen it that high in a long time. ETH dominance back to 17.5, up from 15. Big move. What else is going on? Fear and greed up to 76. Really bullish. And there's some crazy stuff happening. Amid a whole SEC revised filing request, optimism grows for an Ethereum ETF. Maybe by tomorrow, or definitely by the end of the week. Crazy how fast things happen. I always say risk happens fast. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the mods in the chat, T&D Tesla, and everybody else who's here. Let's jump in. As usual, I will not waste your time, but none of this is financial advice. And shout out to the team at Patreon. Albatross 125. James is the smartest investor I've ever found on YouTube. If you aren't in his Patreon, Whiskey, Tango, Foxtrot, are you thinking? Albatross, I'm very honored and humbled. Thank you so much. And anyway, very humbled. Thank you. Thank you to the team as well behind me. We're going to start with the ugly news. I'll get into the good news, okay? We do the ugly, then we do the bad, then we do the good, and there's lots of good today. So bear with me here. First of all, massive spreads between Bitcoin and Binance. Last night, $1,250 spread between where you buy. Now, what's interesting is Binance was cheaper than Coinbase a couple of weeks ago, where the reverse was true. And I beg the question, is this perhaps because there is scant supply on one exchange because of the ETFs? Perhaps. Unlocks. Again, unlocks. Always watch the unlocks, and I've been covering them for years now. Avalanche has a monster unlock of $421 million. ID 4.3%, LBR 2.62%, ALT 7.73%, NIM 3.26%, Yield Guild Games, all these gaming tokens, always rain tokens, 4.51%. So be careful out there if you hold any of those bags, they can impact you as well. The Pith unlock is behind us, by the way. And in fact, it's kind of interesting. The token is held up, but that's because there's been a surge in all tokens. Now, a little bit of ugly news too. This is what I call perception versus reality, is the share of Americans who think they'll work past 62. Now, if we go back to, say, 10 years ago, nearly 60% thought they could retire at 62. That has changed radically, and this change could reflect attitudes towards retirement, economic conditions, health considerations, people not having enough money, and the expectations about having to work into older age. People realize now they cannot retire. P.S. The reason I make videos is to help you make it. Remember that, because if you rely on traditional sources to try and make it out, well, you know the answer. Now, this is it's in the ugly news section, but it should be in the good news. Let me explain why in a minute. The head of the World Economic Forum is apparently stepping down. Klaus Schwab. Now, last year, Politico reported that he planned on staying in office till he died. Thank you, Joseph, for coming. But now he's going to step away after more than 50 years. And we do not like the WEF. However, this guy came on YouTube or Twitter or something, I don't know. And this guy thinks bonds and fiat bring people together while Bitcoin drives them apart. I think he seems to have all the right talking points to be the Klaus Schwab replacement. Anyway, we do not like the WEF, okay? If you are a member, well, you're probably not watching this channel. Anywho, back to the bad news after getting the ugly news out of the way. First of all, another piece of crazy inflation news. US assisted cost of living is up 53% in 10 years. This also ties into the fact that people simply can't retire because they got too many bills to pay, and those bills are going through the roof, which is terribly sad. Don't forget, every video there's a recap of it on a Substack if you want. 10 cents a day for all the slides, all the content, and you can listen to it as well. Now, good news. Wow, that bad news was quick. The good news, Bitcoin monthly returns, we are up 16% for the month of May, which deletes the negative 14% in April by 2%. And note, so far, March and May are the same returns, but I think May will be a lot better. There's lots of money coming in. Now, I got a couple of new exhibits, which are super interesting to look at too. I always try and get better and share more. HS1, thank you so much for coming. This is the sector performance month to date in the whole of crypto. And what's interesting is both DePIN and data are the two sectors that won the month, which is super impressive. If we go year to date, actually, no, the past year, not year to date, AI wins by far. We'll talk more, up 833%, smoking all other sectors, including memes, believe it or not. But I think this is important to know. B, where the money is at. And I'll talk a bit more later about NVIDIA. Stephen Weston, thank you so much for coming. Let's look at the money flow last week. This is not for this week. This is the total week report. Digital asset inflows were positive for the second week, but big time positive. 932 million. You can nearly round that up to $1 billion, and that is a lot of cheddar. Huge pickup in inflows. And again, a bonkers week, and so far that is the biggest week since March of this year. Crazy times. Let's break it down and find out where the money's going. Now, of course, I stress again, because the ETH people will go crazy, say, no, ETH is up, the money's got to be up. This is as of the end of last week, okay? Not this week. This week it will be positive, despite the fact that ETH has bled all year to date. Now, Bitcoin pulled in 942 million, monster flow. In addition, the second biggest pull was Solana, up 4.9 million, up 21 million year to date, which is not bad. And Ethereum was down 23 million, but again, that was heavily reversed. We'll get into all of that in a few minutes. Also, I think Chainlink pulled in some money as well, and Cardano, a little bit of money too, Litecoin even. So the greater cryptoverse is actually drawing in some cash, which is very good. Let's look at alt season. If it is alt season yet, no, it's weaker than last week. Last week was 47. This week is 39. We are down. That means Bitcoin is still firmly in control. What do the top 50 look like over the last 90 days? Well, you can see the memes on the left still winning over the last 90 days. Towards the right, the losers, Immutable X, Sui, Tau, Arbitrum. It's like there's a direct correlation between the performance of these assets and the crypto compendium score. And the big callouts here is Sol is up 70% over the last 90 days. ETH is up 27% over the last 90 days. And Bitcoin is up 35% over the last 90 days. And by the way, that last 90-day data includes the performance today from ETH. So ETH was not doing very well over the last 90 days until yesterday. And we'll break that down now. This is Ethereum on the ATR model. And boy, what a difference a day makes. This is stunning. I have not seen such a big asset jump over one layer, i.e. it went from layer 4 to layer 5 in 12 hours. And ETH is now only $1,000 away from the all-time high. All the way up at level 5, over above level 5 right now as we speak, which is an extremely big move. What is going on with ETH? Well, you know what's going on with ETH. The ETH ETF, really hard to say that, by the way. The ETH ETF is incoming. The SEC staff on Monday were told to tell exchanges where the product's spot ETH ETF would list, and that is leaning towards approving them, according to people familiar with the matter. This is from the inside. It is happening, all right? This is like 95% sure the ETH ETF will be approved. And the agency provided comments on the application that, if resolved in time, could result in approvals as soon as this week. Some people are talking about tomorrow too. Again, they have to move fast because this has become a political hot potato that we've been talking about for years. I've been always saying it's too late to turn your back on crypto. It's part of the world today. If you deny voters what they want, they will not like you and they will not vote for you. So that's what I mean by being a political hot potato. Now, the ETH ETF list, very similar to the Bitcoin ETF list. You got VanEck, you got ARK, Hashdex, Grayscale, Invesco, Fidelity, BlackRock, which is iShares, Franklin, Bitwise, all the same players. And they might do the same thing. If the ETF filings are ready to go, they'll batch approve them all at once, which is the fair thing to do. And it's crazy, but there's a lot more to uncover. First of all, filing modifications are required per James Seyffart. I mean, here they have been asked for things to be changed and pulled off. One of them, I think, is things like staking. Now, my opinion is, if you remove staking from the ETH ETF, it kind of defeats the purpose of having an ETH ETF, because staking is a big part of it. Or else you'll get your 32 ETH and stake yourself and you're good to go. And then that's an extra, 5% a year, which is extremely important when you have an asset that's actually already appreciating as well. So the changes will have to remove staking because I guess, we know the SEC is kind of corrupt and they're trying to block it, but they can't because remember, and this is going to sound really crude, but I'll just speak my mind. Money drives everything, okay? Even human emotions sometimes. Thank you, Super Soul Man, for coming. The money is all powerful, and it's more powerful than governments. That's why I always jokingly say, oh, you know who Jerome Powell reports to? Yeah, Larry Fink. Exactly. Anyway, more on this too. Ethereum had its biggest day since May 2021. Look at that green candle monster. That is the largest one-day price gain, again, in about 3 years. Surging 18%. Again, on the speculation that this pending approval for the ETH ETF is incoming, which is awesome for the space. And another great news too regarding the ETH ETF and ETH holders are now in profit. 90% of them. Only 10% of them are in loss. Again, we're 1,000 away from all-time high, but if we go back to that spike, historic spike here, you can see how quickly back then it went from level 4 straight to level 6. We're talking in a matter of weeks. And we saw what happened yesterday in a day for a huge asset. A huge asset to move so fast, so quickly, all because of this ETH ETF approval. Now, unfortunately, crypto is inextricably linked to politics. And we know who the players are that do not like crypto. They're trying to block it, quash it. The Warrens, the Genslers, the Bidens, they don't like it. I don't know whatever reason, but anyway, maybe because, well, we won't get into that. But this is huge. And this is a sudden Capitol Hill momentum shift. And some of the Democrats who were breaking with Elizabeth Warren, and they wanted to send a message to Warren and Biden on crypto. This is what they call SAB 121 repeal vote. And a number of Democrats broke those party lines, and that is big. And it clearly shows how crypto is a bipartisan issue in DC. Democrats are not a monolith opposed to crypto. Many are supporters, and more will come around over time. And the best path to good crypto policy is to embrace both parties, not to pick one over the other. This is all, it's tricky. And the same thing is going to happen in Europe. The MiCA is part of that too. But this will set the tone around the planet for crypto. You cannot deny it. All right, it's coming. And there's a lot more coming in this show as well. And this is from Ash Crypto. Deploying American Blockchains Act of 2023 has passed the House. This is unbelievable. This removes the power from the US SEC over crypto. People have spoken far too much about this Gary Gensler guy. He just got kneecapped, all right? He now, based on this House, it still needs to be approved by the Senate, but it removes the power from the SEC, which is awesome. And it pushes the power over to the Secretary of the Department of Commerce, and they will serve as the principal advisor to the president on this. Let's hope he understands what it's about. Now, another key piece of legislation is called FIT 21. It sounds like a a workout class or something. But this is the Financial Innovation and Technology for the 21st Century Act, and it is the most significant piece of legislation ever for crypto in the United States. It's a comprehensive regulatory framework for digital assets. And again, it has garnered both support from both parties, left and the right, which is crucial for its success in a politically divided environment. This is Raj from Solana, and he says, if you believe in the power of blockchain, call your member of Congress and ask them to support. And he sees this as the most important piece of crypto legislation to date. That is big news. Now, in other political stuff too, and again, I am not a political animal, but something lit this fuse last week. So much has happened in 1 week that's quiet for 3 years. And then in the space of 4 working days, everything changes. What lit the fuse? Well, Ryan Selkis has an opinion on this. President Jump, I'll leave that actually, President Jump, so people think I'm not talking about the other guy, showed up for crypto. In 1 week, it sparked a $200 billion crypto market rally. It forced Senate Democrats into submission on SAB 121. It forced the resignation of the FDIC chair. It forced the SEC to reverse course on its ETF approval, and it upped FIT21 odds of a passage. Again, not only does risk happen fast in markets, but apparently for things like this, when your political career is on the line, it's embrace or die, which is the other thing I've been saying for a long time too. So that's from Ryan Selkis. And from Prob, this is also very profound. This changes everything in the crypto industry. This approval, if they approve the ETH ETF, they are approving the entire industry. This is the last dam to be broken from Prob. We cannot not be really excited right now. So anyway, there's more. Vitalik, because we are talking about ETH a lot today. Vitalik, he says we need an open, decentralized, operator-free, governance-free protocol for quickly moving assets from one L2 to another. And for that to be integrated into wallets, default sending interface, etc., token transfers, ENS, key changes to smart contract wallets, personal and organizational. And he also said that ENS is the most successful non-financial application of blockchain. So the key here is, if you've ever used Ethereum and you say you have ETH and you move to an L2 and you try to do something, say on DeFi, and then you try to move back to another L2, you got to go through the mothership. And that makes it very painful, very slow, very costly, and it's not going to work. So what Vitalik wants to do, as he sees most of the activity now happening on the layer 2 level, not on the mothership, he wants them to speak together. So we'll see if that can happen. I'm not sure the other L2s will want that to happen because of the fickle nature of crypto. It means people will swap all the time and there'll be even less loyalty than there is today. So it'll be hard for a layer 2 because they're copy pasting each other all the time. It'll be hard to retain customers. Anyway, what else now? It's not all unicorns and rainbows, everybody. This is a bit of a dark side, which is a very profound point as well from Ignis DeFi Research. If the ETH ETF is approved, I worry about Grayscale outflows. Woohoo! Currently, Grayscale holds nearly 10 billion in ETH, and a huge percentage acquired at a significant discount. In fact, I used to be in that trade. And there will be sufficient demand for the ETH ETF to offset the potential outflows. At this market stage, I doubt it. Okay, so this is going to be potentially what I call GBTC Part 2. We saw what happened for the first, basically, 85 days of the ETF. Grayscale Bitcoin Trust just bled out to the tune of 330,000 Bitcoin. Over half. Gone. Same thing will probably happen here. The people that are in this vehicle are speculators, hedge funds, etc. They're not retail investors. Some, yeah, but not a lot. And they will be selling as soon as they can when the discount or whatever goes to zero. We'll see, but watch that carefully. That could put a bit of a dampener on things when they do get approved. And again, I'm 95% sure they will get approved. So watch that space, and I'll be tracking it as well. Now, the ETH Bitcoin rally. This is the ETH Bitcoin chart over the last year. you can see very clearly, and a lot of the ETH people are super, super excited. It's like, yes, ETH is back. And yes, it is back. But what's really crazy is how, we were down at a very low level of 0.04 and change, and it bounced back quite a bit. But remember, over the last year, ETH has bled out a lot against Bitcoin. It has to go a long way up to get back to where it came from. So a lot of people think, yes, it's great. But remember, other assets like Bitcoin have outperformed ETH. So it does have a hill to climb to get back, but it's been a very, very good move so far. And a lot of people mock me. Oh, look at you. Like literally 100,000 comments today. Are you sad now you sold your ETH? No, let me explain why. Because, yes, ETH has done well, but Sol has beaten it by 500%, even including the gains that happened up until half an hour ago. Okay, so again, investing is hard, and I like to be on the fastest horses. Very important to me. And yes, timing is everything. And yes, the last 24 hours would have been a great little perp long to play if you had that information. Actually, it'd be interesting to analyze all the contracts that were placed over the past 24 to 36 hours. People who had the inside know. Then a lot of money can be made. Indeed, yes. But again, overall, per this, ETH has a long way to go to catch up. And what is crazy in perspective terms, all right, this is from Mert, friend of the channel. Ethereum basically added the entire market cap of Solana today. Well, in the last 24 hours. All right, that's how big Ethereum is. The gain in one day was the size of the market cap of a chain that does more. Okay, so that's just some perspective for you. Hard, cold perspective, everybody. And the ETF is good news for the entire industry, all right? Not just Ethereum, the entire industry. Because once they approve the ETH ETF, what leg do they have to stand on to not approve the others? And wait till we hear what I'm going to talk to you about real world assets and who's going to be coming in next. And that's coming up too, right now. So this is a vision from Meow, which is the head of Jupiter Change. Imagine a world where highly liquid markets for Forex, stocks, real world assets like farms and trucks and real estate, etc., all crypto assets wrapped or native, and commodities like oil, etc., copper, all sit in one single state machine, and you can transact across all of them, all assets, swap copper for real estate perhaps, in a single atomic transaction taking 1 second and costing $0.002. This is coming your way on Solana and Jupiter. But it's coming your way faster. This is from December 2023. Now, GUM has been launched. And this is what's interesting for the whole crypto space as well. Imagine what I just said is possible. Yes, it is. And let me explain what this is. This is the GUM initiative, which stands for Giant Unified Market Initiative. And the idea is to bring real world assets on chain. A lot of people are very excited about BlackRock working with Ethereum. And yes, that'll happen. But there'll be a lot of other BlackRocks in the world that will find ways to move on chain. And a lot of the blessing has already been ratified with the ETH approval, which is great for the space. This allows anybody, regardless of their location, to invest in a wide range of assets, which includes real estate, copper, whatever, FX, you name it, oil. And liquidity, which is a key part of this too, will enable fractional ownership of assets, which means that high-value assets can be broken down into smaller, more affordable pieces. And this allows for increased liquidity and a more dynamic market. And the GUM market, the GUM Global Market, I think it's a funny name, it creates a marketplace for investors from different corners of the world to participate in the ownership and trading of tokenized real-world assets seamlessly. And it'll also enable DeFi. You'll be able to trade, hedge, maybe oil versus the yen or something like that down the line. Borrowing against tokenized assets, lending against tokenized assets, democratization of finance all across the board like we've never seen in the history of the planet. This is what's coming to crypto. This is what I am excited about. Now, I know that might sound like mumbo jumbo to you, but imagine there's a $2 million villa in the Alfani coast in Italy, but you can't afford a $2 million villa, but you wouldn't mind it for 5 days a year. Well, that villa can be tokenized, and you can buy your 5 days. Think of it like a timeshare, but you can do it all permissionless, a decentralized manner on the blockchain for a fraction of 1 cent. All right? This is what's coming, and this is what's revolutionary. I hope people are excited as I am. Anyway, moving on. Another big total addressable market is sports betting. This is from Gumshoe, the other gum, not this gum. This is Gumshoe. This is from Divvy. It's a sports betting protocol. It's processed over $4.2 million. And it's brand new in betting across 33,000 people who are waging. It's permissionless, non-custodial platform. And in full disclosure, I think this space is very interesting. I follow the money. Sports betting is massive. That's why I'm in things like Sol Casino as well. This is like a Sol Casino Part 2. No token yet, but you can bet on this as well on Jupiter, as well as dBridge and a bunch of others coming down the line too. So that was an exciting intro just to crypto and Octave. We didn't look at a lot of charts, but it was more important to understand where the world is going and how it's moving so fast. Switching gears to some stocks over the last 7 days. NVIDIA up, 4.27%, which is funny, is up 4% last week too. A little bit of a pre-earnings run. We'll talk about that in a minute. Microsoft 3%, Tesla 4.5%, Google 4.3%, Apple 2.8%. Again, a good week for tech all across the board. JP Morgan down, but who cares? They themselves, by the way, have to embrace or die, and they are embracing crypto. Now, this is also a bonkers statistic. I always talk about global liquidity, and it's been down pretty much over the year. But guess what? Guess what added $742 billion since April? Yes, global liquidity. That's nearly $1 trillion. In a couple of weeks, that's also happening fast too, which is crazy. And Tesla wins the week in China. 13,800 Teslas were registered in China last week between May 13th and May 19th. For those who speak Mandarin and can read it, well, there you are. And it shows a lot of stuff is beginning to work. And there is part of a financing deal as well happening in China. Thank you, Mr. Hammer, for being here. Now, another good news, too, that's going to ignite risk assets. Rate cut is incoming. These are the latest forecasts, and they're getting bigger and bigger. So the odds of us still being at the same rate level are only 35% now for September, with not only nearly a 52% guarantee of a rate cut by September, but also a double rate cut. And that doesn't include the data for July as well, where I expect perhaps an initial rate cut. Remember, there's no August meeting because they like to take month-long vacations. Government jobs sound very enticing, don't they? I think I'd struggle with a day vacation, not being away from you guys. Another fun news too. This is Phantom, Bitski changing the game, and Phantom is the wallet provider, of course. They just bought Bitski to streamline user onboarding. It's all about adoption, making it very easy to bring in people from the outside to crypto because the world is changing. And this Bitski, it's quite a big shop. It's funded by investors like A16Z, Coinbase Ventures as well, to really focus on the product market fit and simplification of taking people from outside of crypto and onboarding them, helping them not eliminate the need for things like complex seed phrases, which puts a lot of people off. It's far too complicated. But one of the things is tying sign-in through email. Now, the first thing that crops into my mind is, if somebody hacks your email, will they get your seed and take your wallet? I don't know. Maybe we'll dig more into it when we see how this thing works. But again, be careful. Sometimes when you oversimplify things, you can increase the risk or the attack surfaces. So beware of that at all times too. And I did tweet this a little bit earlier today. We saw a big spike in Tesla today, which caught a lot of people off guard, including a couple of shorts. But look, Wall Street is beginning to understand that Tesla is not a car company like General Motors or Ford, but they are a robotaxi, cybercab, robotics AI company. And it's actually happening. But the big issue is they forgot to value it, underwrite for it. So they're just catching up right now. And by the way, Pepsi just ordered 50 of these semi-trucks. 50. And they'll take delivery of more as well once they can build them out. And at the present moment in time, these are in Fresno, California. And at the present, and companies like the Pepsis and the Frito-Lays, etc., they spend all their time shipping product to stores. So they're probably the most extensive users of trucks. And for the most extensive users of trucks to choose electric semi-trucks shows you no longer need these diesel things anymore. So this is big. And Tesla are also building a massive semi-truck factory. All they do is build semi-trucks somewhere in Nevada. And I mentioned that already. Starlink, another Elon company, is going parabolic. Over 3 million Starlink customers. You can see how it's projected upwards there. And they also doubled the price. That hasn't slowed down growth. So the question is, when is the IPO? That'd be a good thing to happen. But at the present point in time, I hope Elon could just focus on Tesla and let this thing run itself. But this is another thing that people don't get. Starlink is a global communications platform. They just launched in Indonesia. So now Indonesia, if you're on a remote island somewhere hanging out with some orangutans and you need to stream, well, now you can. Before you couldn't. Now you can with Starlink, which is just unbelievable, giving people access to the world. So very proud of that. Now, a lot of people are worried about NVIDIA earnings tomorrow. What's going to happen? Well, this is super interesting. 3 big analysts, Stifel, Barclays, and Baird, all raised their targets. Stifel raised their target from $910 to $1,085, Barclays $850 to $1,100, and Baird from $1,050 to $1,200. 6 months ago, I felt maybe $1,000 to $1,100 would be the kind of top end for this asset, but for Baird to go to $1,200 is crazy. The price is already $950. So imagine being an analyst, Barclays, price is $950, your target's $850, and it's a strong buy. I don't know how that math works. Maybe somebody can help me. And NVIDIA estimates. This is where I do believe they could beat when they come out. NVIDIA earnings are coming up, and endless upgrades over the last day is a very bullish sign in my opinion. But their estimate is for $5.60 per share. Last quarter they got $5.16. So I believe that extra, 44 cents delta, should be an easy beat. Remember, companies are lining up to buy these H100s, but also bear in mind the competition is coming. Oracle apparently have a AI compute server now, probably former Sun Microsystems box. Dell Computer have one. Intel, what's the other one? ARM, I think, or I can't remember. But there's a whole bunch of competition coming, and that will eat away at the domination, maybe, that NVIDIA has. So be careful down the line. We'll see where this goes. A little bit of other interesting news. ChatGPT 4.0, 4.0, whatever you call it, is their funny way of writing it, but had 2x daily visits after they launched the new version, over 100 million. Of course, that'll tail off after time, because I do believe this whole AI compute stuff is becoming commoditized. It'll be very difficult for the Googles and the Microsofts and all the Claudes to monetize everything, because it's going to be ruthlessly competitive. And for those in real estate, I see you out there, a couple of you there. U.S. median home prices just hit a new all-time high, up to $434,000. So we had that recovery from, 2022, and now in early 2024, already have a new all-time high. And remember, humans are like animals. They like to nest in the spring and early summer, so expect this to go even higher. And then when the rate cut happens, maybe higher again. We'll see. But I think when rates come down, it'll help a lot of people put their houses on the market, which could keep prices a little bit down. But that's the show for today. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to mods in chat. Thank you as well to Jeff Hammer, Stephen Weston, Super Soul Man, and everybody else. Appreciate you all coming. 6,000 people watching live. That's amazing. Hope you enjoy the ETF show. Remember, anybody can choose whatever asset they want. All right? This ETH ETF is a game changer for the entire crypto space. And if you're watching this channel, odds are you were exposed in some way or another. It's good for Bitcoin. It's good for Ethereum. It's good for all chains. Good for the space. Good for human effectiveness and efficiency and productivity, which we need in this ever competitive world. Thanks all for coming. Thank you. See you later.